So, welcome to our tour of Jira as Engineer Marketing is going to be using it. I'm deliberately starting in Discord because Discord is going to be the root of our discussions. And in Discord, we have channels. And some of these channels are also going to become channels in Jira. So now, if I switch tabs and we look at Jira, then here we can see that we have a backlog, and this is more or less the standard view that we're going to be using in terms of our activities. And there's a bunch of other stuff here that I'll touch on later, but the backlog is, for me, the center of our activity. And when you first come in, it'll look like this. You'll see a number of issues, and they have a color coding. And the thing you have to do is turn on this panel, epics. And these epics are the things that correspond to the channels in Discord. So I'm actually tempted to call them channels instead of epics. And what's important to know is there's sort of a hierarchy in Jira where you have epics, and then you have stories, and stories have this green icon, and you have tasks. So the way we're going to be working is we'll have an epic like the rock rev swap, and then within it will be a story, and the story might be contact exchanges. And then within that story will be tasks, such as contact, hit BTC, contact this one, contact that one. And those tasks will be assigned to individual people. So let me clear this up again. And it's a little strange. Jira has kind of an overview where here stories and tasks are not hierarchical like you would expect. Maybe there would be another panel here that shows stories or something, but it doesn't work that way. It all shows up in the overview. And let me just pick a random task here. These things can be slid around. They can also be moved into an epic. So if I move this here, then you still see it here, but it was successfully added to this content SEO epic. And if you click on it, then this panel on the left opens. And this is where all the editing happens. So here you can change the status to do in progress. We can create other statuses. You can figure out who it's assigned to. So I noticed that Alberto was in here and I assigned it to him, but I can move through here and find somebody else from our team that I don't see yet. So I'll assign it to Patrick. You can change the priority, and you can add comments and notes and things like that. So you can see things here. So when you're editing or dealing with an ongoing task or story, then all the work happens in this panel over here. And there's this little menu up here that's kind of easy to miss, but there's some important stuff in here, like if you want to clone it or copy it, but especially if you want to delete it, that's where the delete button is. It took me an hour to find that. Now, let me close this panel. We also have sprints. And so it could be that we'll create a sprint someday, and tasks from different epics could show up in that sprint. So that's something I'm not going to demonstrate now, but to do an example, let me create an epic, and let's say that
let's put like design blog feedback or something.
Design blog feedback. Okay, so collect all feedbacks, we'll say that. So now it's been created. It shows up here. We can see some stats about it and everything. Here, I can actually create an issue in this epic. And so if I say this is going to be a story, and this story is going to be, I don't know, create mock-up. Then we'll create that. So now this epic has one story. And then here I can create an issue right in the list. And we'll say, I don't know.
Wait, so when you push create an issue, it says new story and backlog. Are issues the same as stories?
Yeah, that's one of the confusing things. They show up the same, but they're meant to be a higher level. So you have epics, and then within epics, you have stories, and within stories, you have tasks. But the interface, yeah, personally, I wish there was another panel in here for stories, but it's not that way. So here I'm creating a new issue, and I don't want it to be a story, so I'm going to make it a task. And if I need to, I can pop up more information about it. I can type a whole bunch of stuff in here. I can assign it to components. And there's a whole bunch of stuff here which we don't need. They're often used in software, but probably just creating it in and of itself is enough. So here we have a new task. And if I click just on this epic, then it'll filter it to create mockup. And within this story is a task. So does that make sense?
It does. Hey, one thing I would really emphasize is when you're writing a new task, and if it's going out to like a developer or someone, is to provide a lot of detail in the description so that when the assignee receives it, there's no confusion on their end about what it's about. So that's one thing I've learned in the past, is to make sure there's always a lot of descriptive detail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, that actually goes for every element in the hierarchy, so to speak. There's always a description field, and we should make use of it. Short little three-word descriptions are not enough. So that's yeah, again, down on the detail level, but it's something we just need to make part of the workflow. Clear.
Yeah, and
communication in the descriptions.
yeah, that's great call out, both of you guys. That's a cultural thing. If we can make everything as concise and actionable as possible, we'll get far more efficient. And by the way, that was Craig speaking. I don't know if everybody's met everybody. Yeah, we've kind of been working through text and asynchronously in some independent meetings. But Craig, if you don't mind introducing yourself, maybe we do, or maybe we can do that after. But I'll just say that was Craig, and he's going to be leading, I don't know, I guess director of digital outreach would be the way to put it. He came on as SEO lead, but now he's expanding his SOW to help lead a lot of different avenues that all wrap up into what we'll call the digital outreach strategy.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. Yeah, hi everybody. I guess we'll do the intro. It sounds like you want to do the intro after this, so let's just move forward and then we can.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to disrupt the workflow, but yeah, just like, I guess if we add inputs, just be like, hey, this is, Patrick, that's what I think, or something.
Yeah, it's fine to break in and say something or ask for something to be clarified or something. It's not meant to be a one-man broadcast here or anything. And Craig, I saw a post from you, I think, where you mentioned putting stuff in a wiki, and I thought, aha, here's somebody who can help me do the tour. So what's next? Let me jump down a few channels here, because once you as an individual are working this, then probably this channel will become handy, where you can filter by a bunch of aspects. So I just clicked on issues assigned to me, and because I've been playing with this, there's a few in here. And issues reported by me, there should be a bunch more. And then there's open and done and viewed recently, created recently, resolved recently. So if you're searching for something and you can't find it, it could be that it was resolved recently or something. But these filters are probably the second most common place where you'll be working. Let me check my script here. So we already did our example, and yeah, well, the one thing I didn't do was tasks can have a subtask, which then doesn't show up in the backlog, but it is a subtask attached to the task. So if one of our tasks had, make a reservation at the restaurant, you could put a subtask on it, ask about vegan options or something like that. And that would show up for the person working on the task itself. So here you can see this one has 2 subtasks, which if I was assigned to this and working on it, then I would see them here, and I'd be able to tick them off as done or something. Let me walk down the menu a little bit. The sprints, we won't do a demo of that, but a sprint is something that cuts across the different epics. So if we were organizing some meeting or get together or something, then we might actually want people participating from certain of these epics, and they would have tasks within that epic, but those tasks would also be in the sprint. So that's something that we might use in the future. For now, I really think we should just focus on working with the tasks in the backlog, and the sprint is something more for a very focused action that cuts across the epics or the channels. There's reports which aren't really so useful to us, but come on, load. Oh, sorry, I'm going to get my cursor back. But just so you know that they exist, in case most of them are very software oriented, but down below there's a few where, yeah, issue analysis, created versus resolved, this and that and everything. Let me back out of here. We're not going to be using releases. We're not doing software, although let me point out that if we ever have a version 1.0 of our organization, we have epics, and we might also create versions here, but I kind of doubt that's going to be happening anytime soon. Pages is what Craig is looking for. Pages actually takes you out of Jira and into Confluence. And Confluence is kind of a content system with a bunch of default templates like decision or meeting notes, product requirements, and there's 6 more here. But there's also a wiki. And so certain types of content, especially stuff that is being collaboratively edited as an archive as opposed to a Google Doc or something, that might show up here in the Confluence. And Confluence is a whole separate system. It was bought by Atlassian and then attached to this. So there's a learning curve there that we're not going to get into now. Another aspect is components, which again is interesting for software, but I don't think that it's going to be very useful for us in the short term. But it is possible to create a component. So I created one here called tooling, try out and test new tools, and I assigned it to Ian. So I have no idea if Ian is interested in this stuff, but he happened to show up under my cursor, so I assigned it there. And then here, let me skip this one because it's actually this one that I want to show off. You can add an item. And one of the things that I have is this. So this is our Airtable, and we're looking at an R-Chain content calendar. So if I copy this link and then switch back to Jira, I can add a shortcut to a frequently used resource. So we'll call this the Airtable content cal, and I can add it. And then it shows up here as a link in this left-hand navigation. So we might add other key things to there as long as it doesn't start to exceed the length of the sidebar. And
this is attached at the project level, at the board level. So anybody that's assigned or anybody that's in the engine R will appear on their sidebar.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you add it, it'll appear for everybody. And I already added one here, which I'll pop it up in a new tab because I don't want to leave this one. But this is just another Airtable thing. I made a link to the content repo, the resources in the content repo. And so, yeah, probably we don't need Airtable in there, so I can just edit that and say content resources. That'll show up like that. Just to show you some other context, here I'm going to go.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go ahead.
For the task, I meant to ask this earlier when you assign a task to someone. So let's just say I wanted to assign a task to Craig, for instance, to come up with a list of searchable taglines or keywords.
Yeah.
Once I assign it to him and he completes that task and maybe throw it into like the resource tab or link, if he marks it as closed, so I get like an email or notification that he did that, so I can then proceed to the next steps.
I believe so, but I'm actually not sure of that answer. There's
So whatever email that you signed into Jira with, you will get notifications in your email about anything you're assigned to. So what I did is I created a filter for anything that comes through Jira, and it hits my little filter. But I don't know within Jira itself if there's like a little notifications ping or something like that. It looks like there is a little eye or that little alarm. If you look at the MK8 to the top, yeah, so that's unwatched. And what's right next to that, Kit? Alarm.
Give feedback.
Oh, give feedback. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know about that. Maybe the bottom left, that little bell. You see, it's above your profile,
right.
All the way bottom left. Notifications. Yeah. So I guess that's where that would be. And I'm assuming it lights up if you're going to sign. Maybe we can test that or something.
Okay.
So watching. So is there a difference?
By default, I think you're watching everything because when you commented on this, I got an email.
So you're watching anything you're assigned to, or anything in the board?
Well, anything you're assigned to.
Okay.
And maybe there's a preference in your personal settings, or you can watch the whole board or something. But I don't know if anybody would want to do that.
Yeah, for me personally, that works. That would work perfectly. Because anything that I'm assigned to already, I get notifications for.
Right.
And then I also have that email filter if everybody else has their email set up too, then that would be a good way of, just quickly running through it.
Yep, exactly. Okay. Let me just go up a level, and then we'll see if there are any questions. But here we are in our Engine R software project. And if you view all projects, then here we'll see the context of the R chain Jira where we live. And so there's a bunch of other projects here which we might be relating to in one way or another, like events, or R chain Europe if we're doing something with them, R node validator and onboarding. And the way it works is there's a group created for each of these projects, and that group is assigned to the project, but they can move between projects as long as you're in the right group. And so, yeah, there's probably stuff down here that we're not interested in at all, like with Scala or something, and we may not even get in there in order to participate. But for other things that we're working on, then that's one of the main reasons that we're moving to Jira, is so that we can interoperate with people like Meta and Kelly and other developers, and keep the communication fluid, hopefully.
Yeah, and this is going to be extremely beneficial for feedback on content. One of the blockages that we're running into right now is that subject matter experts confirming whether or not content is honest or up to date. So after this, we'll set up conversations with Kelly and Meta to figure out the best way to not spam them, but to get them at a regular kind of review cadence. They also have a writer too on staff, by the way, PowerFX. So there's most likely going to be more synergies there.
Okay. Well, it would be great if we had some crossover, and we could. I mean, if somebody was helping us, then they would show up here somehow. But I'll have to talk to Meta about that, because right now it's a limited list.
Yeah, and also note, Kit, when you're talking to Meta or Kelly, Ankaran already spoke about this, but we can resource them to hire a developer as long as that developer spends a certain amount of time syncing back with us for our needs. So, for example, if we resource them with a developer that's going to help with, I don't know, whatever they're going to help with, consensus or X, Y, and Z, they can contribute part-time to the code so that they're learning and they're getting up to speed, and then part-time they come back and they review all of our content, or they're like this hybrid type of role. Does that make sense? That's still to be figured out exactly how to do that, but we can, I guess we'll need to have those conversations with them, but so that they're not overburdened with too much, we can give them additional resources. They just have to figure it out operationally.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great to know, actually. I'm sure.
Yeah, keep in mind, guys, that we need to sync with PowerFX. So however we figure out how to do that is we're totally open to as many ideas as we can on that.
Right.
Without so the main problem is that everybody's strapped, super crazy deadlines for Mercury. You guys already know this for us too. But we have to, in order to scale the education, we obviously need to know from them first. So that's just one thing to consider.
Right.
So that's just one thing to consider.
Okay. Well, my last point in the demo, because my free meeting has about 3 minutes left. I mean, we can start it over again or something, but all of you present in this meeting should have access to Jira. If you don't have a rchain.coop email address, then you've sent it to me, and I've sent it to Meta, and she will put you in the group that has rights to change things in here. And until then, it's open, and you can view it, but you can't actually make changes like you were just watching me do, change the epic or something like that. So if you don't seem to have editing rights, then let me know, and I'll try and track down where the glitch is. But all the emails that I've received have gone to Meta, and she's pretty quick. And I think since some of you were in, all of them should be in. And I don't want to create another channel in Discord, but we'll have to figure out where is a place to ask for support about Jira, because it's going to be needed. I mean, maybe we just do it in Jira. I'll create a support epic or something like that. And then we'll answer the questions there, because it could be some people will have the same question. How do I delete an issue? You know, it'll be explained there.
Yeah, and just as like a principle right now, especially as we're all exploring all these different tools, like redundancy is okay. You know, it's not annoying to ping me on Discord, to email me, to text me, to call me, to Facebook message me, like all the same message, because that's just kind of how we're going to have to move right now while we're all learning these tools and workflows.
Okay, my free Zoom is going to shut off in a number of seconds, so I think we should round off the meeting, but I will open it again after it shuts off. However, we won't be recording anymore. We can just talk a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I think we should jump back in, maybe run like a little experiment with the workflow, and then let's talk a little bit about what tools we all want to use for certain purposes, and kind of sync up on what's been going on right now and how we can work to get more efficient.
Yeah, exactly. That's the overriding goal of all of this. So.
All right. So, all right. Yeah. Well, I'll hop right back in.
Yeah. I mean, I think
it's the same Zoom room too, right?
Yeah, it's the exact same Zoom room. So I'm gonna stop the meeting before Zoom does, and then I'll open it up right away.
Cool. Sounds good. I'll see you guys again.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.